Chugma, Shkeshlaka, Ashmomaka, Sayupachpislika. Good morning, tribal leaders, Indian country. Thank you for being here. I have a great honor today. I'm humbled to be here on this historic day for tribal nations and for our country. History teaches us that failure to include tribal leaders' voices in formulating federal policy that affects our communities has all too often led to undesirable and even devastating effects, such as the allotment of our lands, termination of federal tribal government relationships, and relocation of our families away from our communities to urban areas. By contrast, where dialogue with Indian nations has had a meaningful effect and role in the policymaking process, we enjoy greater opportunities and we're better able to meet those challenges that we face every day. This dialogue is a critical ingredient to a sound and productive federal-tribal relationship. I believe this is why tribal leaders have responded resoundingly to the person I'm about to introduce. He campaigned on the promise of greater engagement with Indian country, and ladies and gentlemen, he's true to his word. He's keeping his word today. President Barack Obama has recognized that our union will be more perfect when the Indian nations are respected as they were by the founding fathers in our Constitution. Here, at the beginning of a historic U.S. presidency, we have an opportunity to meet with him today and renew the promise of our democracy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you today the President of the United States of America, President Barack Obama.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody, please have a seat. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please, everybody, have a seat. Thank you to Jefferson Keel. Thanks for the wonderful introduction. To Clarence Jackson for the invocation. Good morning to all of you. I am honored to be with you today at this unique and historic event, the largest and most widely attended gathering of tribal leaders in our history. And I am so grateful to many members of Congress who could join us today, along with several members of my cabinet who will be participating in this conference today. You know, a couple of summers ago, I had the opportunity to visit the Crow Nation in Montana. And while I was there, I was adopted into the nation by a wonderful couple, Hartford and Mary Black Eagle. And I know what they're saying now. Kids grow up so fast. Only in America could the adoptive son of Crow Indians grow up to become President of the United States. It's now been a year since the American people went to the polls and gave me this extraordinary privilege and responsibility. And part of what accounts for the hope people felt on that day, I think, was a sense that we had an opportunity to change the way Washington worked. A chance to make our federal government the servant not of special interests, but of the American people. It was a sense that we had an opportunity to bring about meaningful change for those who had, for too long, been excluded from the American dream. And few have been more marginalized and ignored by Washington for as long as Native Americans, our first Americans. We know the history that we share. It's a history marked by violence and disease and deprivation. Treaties were violated. Promises were broken. You were told your lands, your religion, your cultures, your languages were not yours to keep. And that's a history that we've got to acknowledge if we are to move forward. We also know our more recent history, one in which too often Washington thought it knew what was best for you. There was too little consultation between governments, and that's a major reason why things are the way they are today. Some of your reservations face unemployment rates of up to 80%. Roughly a quarter of all Native Americans live in poverty. More than 14% of all reservation homes don't have electricity, and 12% don't have access to a safe water supply. In some reservations, as many as 20 people live together just to get by. Without real communication and consultation, we're stuck year after year with policies that don't work on issues specific to you and on broader issues that affect all of us. And you deserve to have a voice in both. I know that you may be skeptical that this time will be any different. You have every right to be, and nobody would have blamed you if you didn't come today. But you did, and I know what an extraordinary leap of faith that is on your part. And that's why I want you to know that I'm absolutely committed to moving forward with you and forging a new and better future together. It's a commitment that's deeper than our unique nation-to-nation relationship. It's a commitment to getting this relationship right so that you can be full partners in the American economy and so your children and your grandchildren can have an equal shot at pursuing the American dream. And that begins by fulfilling the promises I made to you during my campaign. I promised you a voice on my senior staff in the White House so that you'd have a seat at the table when important decisions are being made about your lives, your nations, and your people. And that's why I appointed Kimberly Teehee of the Cherokee Nation as my Native American policy advisor, and Jody Gillette of the Standing Rock Sioux Tribe to work directly with all of you. That's why Secretary Salazar and I selected Larry Echohawk of the Pawnee Nation to serve as Assistant Secretary for Indian Affairs here at Interior, and they are doing great work so far. I also told you that we'd shake up the bureaucracy and get policymakers out of Washington so they could hear directly from you about your hopes, your dreams, and the obstacles that keep you from pursuing them. And Secretary Salazar, in particular, has helped lead a comprehensive outreach to tribal communities. And Attorney General Eric Holder, Energy Secretary Stephen Chu, HUD Secretary Sean Donovan, Secretary of Education Arne Duncan, and Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, along with several members of my staff, have held listening sessions on American Indian and Alaska Native issues around the country and at the White House. I promised you we'd host this conference to develop an agenda that works for your communities, because I believe Washington can't and shouldn't dictate a policy agenda for Indian country. Tribal